Do you know what really sucks? Is sitting down to edit your project and realizing that you have gaps in your coverage or shots missing. You need to have a really good, specific, and detailed shot list. Head over to filmmakersecrets.com/shot list, SHOTLIST, to get a killer shot list template along with some training where I show you step by step exactly how to use it.
I'm 78 years old. I am not going to just be the guy on the gurney, hooked up to tubes, dying, so everybody can talk about him. I want something that is still juicy and interesting and that I can grow from.
I'm trying. It's one of my things that I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get better at it. Just sharing and promoting and doing what we're supposed to do. It's not just about doing the art. It's also about selling yourself. We got to be pimp. We got to be pimps and hookers. Got to be pimps and hookers.
That's going to be the very first soundbite of this podcast. That's amazing.
Filmmakers have the power to evoke emotion, inspire thought, and drive universal change in this world. Right now, a real seismic shift is happening in the film industry. This is your best chance to join a new filmmaking movement. You have been called to create an everlasting impact with your unmatched, deep desire to tell authentic stories. So how does a filmmaker thrive in an environment that is almost intentionally designed to bring you down? That is the question, and this podcast reveals the answer.
What's happening, filmmakers? It's George VK. Welcome to Filmmaker Secrets podcast, episode number 46. And I am extremely excited to introduce my two guests, the first episode with two guests on at the same time, both amazingly talented actors. We have Jim Hunt and Josh Hartwell. So Jim, we'll start with you. Go ahead and say what's up to our filmmakers and reveal the one filmmaker or storytelling secret that you've been keeping from us.
Oh my God. Well, I'm an actor, so I've not made films, but films have made my life. I learned how to kiss watching films. I learned almost everything I need to know about life watching films. So I can't imagine a life without cinema. In Thornton Wilder's play, The Skin of Our Teeth, after the Third World War, his wonderful character, Sabina, says, Mr. Entropus, sometimes I just got to go to the movies. And I think that's all I can say is I couldn't imagine life without the movies. And yet, of course, there were centuries of life without movies. So, yeah, it's not a secret. It's just that I love film and can't imagine living without it.
You want to make movies? Go watch a movie, right?
Yeah, or be in a George 48-hour movie, I guess, maybe. Just
right.
Make a movie. Yeah.
Make it fast, make it quick. Josh,
make it fast, make it quick. Learn your lines, don't bump into the furniture. And that's, yeah.
There you go. Don't trip. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh, what about you? What's your filmmaking secret that you have been keeping from our filmmakers?
I have a couple of rules, and I put those in air quotes, that I tell students. I teach playwriting, and two of my rules are: don't be afraid to share, because we are artists who are theater or film are mediums that are required to be shared. And so many times writers who are, especially beginning writers, are afraid to share what they have to say, what they've written. But then also don't edit while you write. And the reason I say that is because so often you'll be writing or you'll be trying to write and you don't think you have the story. And so you don't attack the script. And so you end up not writing anything because you're editing in your head or you're trying to make it perfect for the first draft. So I always say, write whatever you have, just vomit out the words and then go back and edit the shit out of it. And then I also say those are two rules that I personally suck at. I'm always reminding myself that these are rules that I have to get better at. Don't be afraid to share. Don't be afraid to share, and don't edit while you write.
I appreciate you saying that, because as you were talking, I was actually thinking to myself, like, that is something I try to remind myself of all the time, but yet I still make that cardinal sin of editing, going back before I'm even finished with the script. And that's something I think every screenwriter, every filmmaker probably deals with on a daily basis when they're, working through their ideas and trying to tackle a script. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and admitting that even no matter how much experience you've had, it's constantly a game of improvement, a daily improvement.
Yeah, and it's a game of, and it's trusting yourself, but also trusting yourself to not trust yourself. You can make your first draft as terrible as you want it to be, as long as you know that it's just a draft. And then, of course, the Ernest Hemingway quote is, do you know this, George? Ernest Hemingway quote is, write drunk, edit sober.
That's right. Yeah. Even putting yourself in that kind of mindset is just like, lose the inhibitions of self-judgment and the fear of judgment from others, and just plow down unapologetically and keep writing. It's a draft, which means that people don't necessarily have to see it or read it. Mm-hmm. And that, you can rest assured that this is not something you necessarily have to share right away until you feel like it's ready for the public to see. So that's great. And
you make so many discoveries, just by getting into the script. And it's always also, this is another tidbit, and I learned this from somebody, and I don't even remember who, don't guide your characters through the script, but try and follow them through the script. Mm. And it's a little more abstract, but once you get to the point where the characters are so naturally drawn that they just guide you through the script, through the play, or through the screenplay, then I think that's a good place to be.
Amazing. I'm so excited for this conversation, because I know I'm going to be learning a lot from, it's kind of selfishly kind of getting a master class. So, speaking of that, Jim, you've had vast experience as an actor, in theater and in film, probably more centered around theater, which I totally respect and appreciate, because theater, like we talked about before we started the record in earnest, is my first love. And, I did theater all through my childhood into college. Take me back, Jim, to that moment in the past where you got this spark that you knew you wanted to become a storyteller, an actor. What was happening around you? Kind of describe and set the scene for us. Tell us that story.
Oh my God. I mean, my father used to tell me that I knew The Night Before Christmas by heart when I was 2, and would tell people, listen to me recite this. And then eventually he said, okay, that's cool. That's excessive. So I think theater, the need to tell stories, has always been part of my need to be alive. But I want to tell you, the thing that happened to me in the last 2 years was getting to be part of a crazy project I never thought I would be part of, which was motion capture video game where I played a major character. And it's since launched, and I find myself just aghast at how much energy there is around my being an avatar in a video game that I never imagined being part of. So when I, at my advanced age of 70, I'm now 78, at 76, I started doing motion capture for a video game, a story-driven video game called Life is Strange, True Colors. And here I am, this character, Ducky, whom I've never met, never experienced, but suddenly I'm doing suit up and motion capture, and all of a sudden, this amazing thing has happened. So I went from being a stage actor to a person who occasionally did some industrials and film. And all of a sudden I'm doing this thing that I never knew would exist. And so it's a strangest journey. I see my avatar and they go, oh, well, yeah, he kind of looks like me, but not really. Right. And I hear my voice and they go, oh my God, that's unreal. I never thought I would ever have that in my life.
That's amazing. And what about you, Josh? What was that spark in your past that got you on this whole path?
Well, I've always been a little bit weird around writing because I even though I was never a great student. I was never a good student, actually. But I always loved writing. I always looked forward to it, to when we were assigned writing projects, to storytelling. And even in second grade, I was always writing more than I was required to. And so at summer break, my second grade teacher, Mrs. Bourne, gave me a stack of paper so that I could keep writing. Mm-hmm. And then I would always attack the writing projects. And then in junior high, in the summer after 8th grade, my friend Tony Mosier and I, instead of doing crazy things like teenagers do, we would spend the night in his camper in his driveway, and he had this weird porcelain doll of Stan Laurel that just creeped us out. So we would put this porcelain doll in the camper with us, and we would just write horror stories, and we would write for a while, and then we would read our horror stories to each other. And that was exciting to me. I always knew that was something that I wanted to do. And then theater came along in high school, and I realized, even though I was dreadfully shy, I wanted to do theater, and I was in competitive speech, and so I could use acting as a way to do the storytelling, even though what I always wanted was to be a writer. But when I was in elementary school, I would see the high school productions, and I would think, I hope I get to do that someday, even though I don't like being in front of people or really talking. I hope I get to do that at some point.
And fast forward however many years, here you are. That's so interesting that it's almost like you put yourself in this immersive environment in order to be able to have those, experience those feelings, like with the porcelain doll in the camper van and writing horror stories. You're putting yourself into potentially the shoes of the characters that you will be writing. Is that something that you practice, whenever you're going through your writing process?
I don't know. I mean, I think I pick up new habits that I don't necessarily keep, but I pick up new habits for whatever project I'm writing. My latest, the play that I wrote during the real pandemic, like the deep pandemic, when mm-hmm. no one could be around each other, came out of me so fast. But it was based on a real story, so that probably helped. But usually before that, I would always write at a coffee shop. I could not write at home. I couldn't get focused to write at home. I'd always have distractions and distract myself, really. So coffee shops with all those distractions were actually what helped me focus. And then not being able to be in public or at coffee shops, I just had to say, well, this is where you're going to have to write, and this is how you're going to have to do it. But yeah, I think what changes is the music I'm listening to and the things that I'm reading. Those are the things that kind of get me in the mood for whatever it is that I'm writing. But it does change for each project.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. I kind of want to shift gears a little bit, and we'll start with you, Jim. Whenever you're approaching a character or script, what's the very first thing that you do, even before you start memorizing the lines and going through your character backstory? you've read the script. What is the first thing that is, part of your process approaching a character?
Yeah, I think so I got cast in this role for a reason. Something in my physical, vocal, whatever range made the director cast me. And so I feel like my job is to figure out where I connect to this character. And I just hate actors who put on paper doll dresses and create something that, was just outside their bodies. So my job is to go, what's in me that connects to this character? And how do we meet? And how do we then go forward? And so, getting to play Scrooge in Josh's adaptation at Miners Alley for 4 years is a great example, because I have Scrooge in me, and I have that drunk, silly, wonderful guy in me. And to every night get to go from the, splendid, if they would rather die, they had better do it and decrease the surplus population to, Christmas morning. I can't believe it's Christmas morning. They've done it all in one day. Of course, they can do anything they want. That is just the juiciest gold for me there ever was. But that is in me, George. If I didn't already know that guy, then all I could do is put on a paper doll dress. And then that would be so interesting. So I recently said to a guy in the UK, in Manchester, he said he loved my character in the video game. And he said, how do you do it? And I said, all I do is just go, I'm 78 years old. I am not going to just be the guy on the gurney, hooked up to tubes, dying, so everybody can talk about him. I want something that is still juicy and interesting and that I can grow from. And so, Scrooge, for me, as old as that story is, but in Josh's version, so fresh, that journey every night just it renewed me every night as long as we got to do it. So yeah, it's just, where do I connect with this person that some brilliant writer imagined in his or her head? And then I cannot stand that idea that you just have to go out somewhere and find some paper doll to put on.
I think that's a great analogy. I love that. I'm going to steal it and use it later on. What about you, Josh? I'm always curious to know for playwrights, screenwriters, what their process is of starting the script. Do you start with, the ideas for plots? Do you start with character? Do you start with an outline? How does that launching point go for you?
It's different. This sounds so trite, but it's different with every play I write. I have written plays because I thought of a title. And then I filled the play in with the title. I thought of this. I had this. I heard someone talk about when Bob Dylan went electric and the impact it had on the folk world. And I thought, man, Dylan went electric. That's a great title. And I wrote a whole play about that. It wasn't.
And
about
I
Bob
directed
Dylan.
it.
And Jim directed it. Coincidentally,
that's great.
I've had an image of a woman with her shaved head and a bloody nose in prison, and I wrote a whole play about that. Sometimes I hear song lyrics, or sometimes I hear stories on the news. Like I was just flipping through news and saw this story about 1983, a guy who had stolen at gunpoint a 70 millimeter print of Return of the Jedi, and it took over an hour for the guy in the projection room to unspool it. So I thought, what in the world did they talk about for over an hour while this kid was stealing this shit? And so I wrote a whole play about that. And so it just different things inspire me. And I think, and I'm happy that different things inspire me, because if I had to rely on the same thing all the time, the same type of inspiration all the time, I think I would get bored, because I have a really short attention span, and that goes with my acting, that goes with my writing, that goes with all of those sort of artistic inspirations. My attention span is super short, so I'm glad that I have so far had different entryways into the writing process.
That's amazing. Well, that kind of brings me to the next question of what's been, some of the biggest roadblocks that you feel like a big challenge that you feel has presented a big roadblock for you, and how did you overcome that? And this could be at any point in your career, in any kind of aspect. I'm just curious to know what you consider to be one of the biggest challenges in your process.
I am terrible at promoting myself, and a writer should be as good at promoting themselves, himself or herself, as they are at writing, because it's such part of the business. And I thought at one point, in 2008, I got an agent because of a review of a play that I wrote, and I thought, this is it. I'm gonna rely on this agent to promote my work. And they sort of did for a while, but then they didn't. And then it got to the point where they wouldn't answer any of my communications. And I'm this many, years older, and I don't have that skill. I'm terrible at it. It makes me nervous. It makes me feel fake. And there are people who are just awesome at it. There are people who are much better at promoting themselves than they are at their art, and they are doing really well at their career, and I'm less so.
Well, and does that have to do with your morals? Solely for, an artist that is better at promoting themselves than they are at the actual art, is that authentic?
Well, I suppose for an art that is sometimes embracing inauthenticity, I think they're as authentic as the reverse. I just have so much trouble, and I just have so much anxiety around it. So it's just a skill that I didn't develop, and now I'm pushing 50, and I don't. And I'm trying. It's one of my things that I'm trying to do now, is I'm trying to get better at it, just sharing and promoting and doing what we're supposed to do. It's not just about doing the art. It's also about selling yourself. We got to be pimp. We got to be pimps and hookers. Got to be pimps and hookers.
That's going to be the very first soundbite of this podcast. That's amazing. I think that's what makes it so difficult and probably so rewarding, when you do hit a certain point of success. What about you, Jim? What has been kind of your biggest roadblock, your biggest challenge?
I think I never had a game plan. I never had an idea of what my career would look like. And so I'm still at my age going, I just want to do something that's interesting, that makes me grow, that is worth my time. And I'm completely respectful of younger people who are going, oh God, I got to take that because it will lead to this or lead to that. But I don't think I've ever had a roadblock because I've never had a master plan. It's just like, I just needed to act all along and meet people like Josh Hartwell, who is the light of my life. And there's no roadblock. I have nothing ahead that I need to accomplish. I have nothing behind that I regret. I'm just so happy to have had all this time in front of the camera, in front of the lights, and I hope I get a lot more. I still want to be a movie star. I just told the guy in the UK who said, "Well, what do you want after Ducky in the Deck 9 game?" And I said, I still want to be a movie star. That's all I care about. And then, careful what you ask for, because I don't want to be an old guy hooked up to machines. I just want to be, well, like George, you know what I'm talking about. Because our little movie was so fucking, can I say that? Important to me. Oh my God. That just made my autumn. It was so wonderful.
Well, that's such an amazing perspective that you have, Jim. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think this is a perfect way to sort of wrap things up with our tiny little conversation. I hope to have many more of these. The 48-hour film festival, it's so interesting because, Jim, I haven't had the pleasure to work with you until this film race. And Josh was in my very first movie and the very recent, the last movie that we filmed together. And it was such a great learning experience for me personally, and I'm sure for the rest of the crew and probably for you guys as well, because I try to take something away from every project that I work on. What was that experience like for you, for the two of you? I don't know if you've had, film race shoots before where you have to write, shoot, and edit a film in under 48 hours. What was that like for you, Jim?
Oh my God. You emailed me and I ignored it, not intentionally. And then Josh said, George is still looking. And I went, oh yeah, can we do that? And then, that day was one of the most magical days of my life. No, I'm serious. In that mansion with your script, Yorvana and your script, and oh God, Kristen, our
Jessica.
other tech. Yeah. That day was so magical. And Brian, BLS. I loved every minute of that day. I love the slowness of a film set, where you just go, you know what? The lights are not good yet, so wait. So, you know what? Well, let's do that again. I love that. And so many stage actors hate that. And I love it. I relish it. And you made every minute of that day so special to me. And I am still sending that link to people all the time. Except that I've now lost 15 pounds. So that belly that I had in the boardroom is gone, I swear. But and my grandson who is 20, almost 20 with Down syndrome, watches that thing every day. And he will still come up behind me and go, Grandpa, you're not alone. Did you see him? My son, Jason. And I just go, oh my God. So
that's amazing.
Truly, George, it is one of the most magical, wonderful, awesome things I've ever been asked to do and am so proud of. And you just are a treasure to me. So
you are too kind, Jim. I mean, you should be proud for winning Best Actor for that.
I know.
That piece.
And you and I on the stage of the Bug, just so special, George. You've got to know that.
A great highlight of my couple of years, I think, as well. Josh, what was that like for you? I mean, working with Jim in that capacity, specifically, but also I'm kind of selfishly curious of what it was like working with someone as amateur of a filmmaker as I am.
No, it doesn't seem like that to me at all, because I'm used to a lot of, or not used to, because I don't do a ton of film, but I'm used to it taking a lot longer and a lot of, relighting this and making sure this is perfect. But I think you have a beautiful instinct. And the whole day leading up to it, I just knew that it was something that, and I'm saying coming out of the pandemic because that's kind of how it felt at the time, even though we weren't. It felt, and Jim and I hadn't done theater yet since March of 2020. It felt like the right thing to do for our souls, for our artistic souls, but also because we love working together and we love hanging out with each other. And low stress, just fun, and not a ton of lines to learn. And everything was was accomplished as if it were 15 people working on this film. And it wasn't. It wasn't. It was just this little handful of 3 actors and 3 other people.
It was 3 crew.
It felt like this. It felt like this huge production, but that's because it was just so smooth and diving into the script felt real and felt honest. So no, I don't think it could have gone any better.
Well, I appreciate the both of you saying that. I'll send you the $20 later.
Yeah. And George, you actually said early on, I think you and Ravana both said, we're not sure what this is. We're not sure.
Yeah.
But my friends have just repeatedly said, this is so wonderfully creepy. And I just always go, wow, we didn't know it was going to be that creepy. But more people have said, oh my God, Josh not in that car at the end. Oh my God, what was that? Just so whatever you guys trusted that night in your 48 hours to write this creepy, wonderful script, just magical and just absolutely magical.
Well, I guess it's time to write the sequel then.
Yes,
I do. I think so too.
the 24-hour film race. Now, to wrap this wonderful conversation up, Jim and Josh, where can our filmmakers go to find out more about you?
Well, I am stupidly not on Instagram or Twitter, but I am on Facebook. So just Jim Hunt on Facebook and look for this guy who's actually my screenshot is still the moment where Josh is grabbing my mouth from your film.
That's right.
Yeah. I would but more if somebody needs more.
Perfect.
Josh?
I have a website. It's hartwellplaywright.com. So that's HartwellPlaywright.com.
I appreciate you spelling that.
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want someone to mess it up. So that just, a resolution of mine is to be on top of my website this year. I just got it last year.
Perfect.
So I'm going to learn to, but that's the same thing. It's promoting myself. So it's like a barricade, but yeah, I'm going to do
awesome. I'll make sure to have all those links in the show notes. So filmmakers, please go check out Jim and Josh's work. And Josh, I'm gonna get you to promote yourself more. We're gonna do it.
Someone's got to. Thanks.
And final question for the both of you. This has been known to be a doozy for a lot of my guests.
Lightning round.
Lightning round with just one simple question that is a doozy. What is your deserted island movie? So if you could only watch one film for the rest of your life, what would that be? Jim?
Oh gosh, Josh knows his. Ask him first.
Josh?
Silence of the Lambs.
Oh, perfect. Beautiful.
I'm a dork. It might be Citizen Kane.
Okay. Rosebud. I love it.
Yeah. Oh, spoiler.
Well, Jim, Josh, thank you so much for being on the Filmmaker Secrets podcast. This has been amazing. I'll be sure to get you back on when your next project inevitably starts to pick up steam and get worldwide recognition. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me.
Thank you so much. This has been fun.
Thank you so much. And love to you. Love to Ravana. And
everybody.
Yeah, be well. Be safe.
All the best. Take care.
If you like that, then you are going to love my Cine Racing Challenge. This is a 7-day filmmaking competition where your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to write shoot, and edit a short 60-second film in just 7 days for your one chance to win with over $10,000 in prizes. So head over to cineracing.com. That's cineracing.com to get registered. Spots are filling up fast and the timer is ticking before the next Cine Racing Challenge launches. So be sure to head over to cineracing.com right now to get registered. I'll see you over there.